Hello, fictional. Welcome to the crossover What Ifs. Today we are gonna see, what if Deku was the sage of six paths and got harem with Ino? If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. In a dimension far from his own, a quiet rippling disturbance in the fabric of space and time signaled a change of cosmic proportions. Izuku Midoriya, known to many as the seventh Hokage and the Sage of Six Paths, found himself summoned to a world vastly different from his own, a world where heroes and villains clashed not with chakra, but with quirks. The night was clear over the bustling city of Musatafu, Japan, where the world's heroes were preparing for another day of safeguarding their society. Deku, now possessing the remarkable powers of the sage, appeared out of thin air in an alleyway, the result of a mysterious force's intervention. He brushed off the disorienting sensations of interdimensional travel and scanned his surroundings with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. The city, though unfamiliar, seemed to pulse with an energy of its own. Before he could gather his bearings, he heard a commotion nearby. As Deku made his way towards the source of the noise, he came upon a scene that seemed almost too ordinary for such an extraordinary circumstance. A group of villains was attacking a small, nondescript bank, and the heroes in the area were struggling to contain the chaos. Without hesitation, Deku sprang into action, his aura radiating with the power of the sage. His appearance was sudden and almost otherworldly, catching the attention of both the villains and the heroes. In a flash, he was upon the villains, his movements a blur of precision and strength. He utilized his mastery of the Six Paths techniques, powerful chakra blasts, levitation, and enhanced speed to dismantle the villains' assault with ease. The heroes on the scene, initially taken aback by Deku's overwhelming power, soon realized that he was on their side. Among them was Ino Yamanaka, a strikingly perceptive and capable hero who had been dispatched to assist in the situation. Her quirk allowed her to enter and manipulate the minds of others, which proved crucial in the battle. Ino's sharp blue eyes widened as she observed Deku's prowess. As the last of the villains were subdued and taken into custody, Ino approached Deku, her curiosity evident. "Who are you? We haven't seen anyone like you before," she asked, her voice a mixture of awe and caution. Deku, still catching his breath from the battle, offered a reassuring smile. "I'm Deku. I was brought here from another world. I'm here to help." Ino's brow furrowed slightly. "Another world? That's quite a story. But your timing was perfect. We could use someone with your abilities around here. My name's Ino Yamanaka. It's nice to meet you, Deku." Deku nodded appreciatively. "Nice to meet you too, Ino. I'm glad I could be of assistance. Can you tell me more about this world and what's going on?" Ino led Deku to a nearby cafe where they could talk without the interruptions of a chaotic battle scene. As they settled into a quiet corner, Ino explained the current situation in the world of My Hero Academia. The city had been facing increased attacks from various villain factions, and the hero society was struggling to keep up. "We've been dealing with a group called the League of Villains," Ino said, sipping her coffee. "They've been causing a lot of trouble lately, and we're trying to get ahead of their plans." Deku listened intently, his mind racing as he processed the information. "It sounds like you're dealing with a serious threat. If there's anything I can do to help, just let me know. I've dealt with powerful adversaries before." Ino's gaze softened as she regarded Deku. "Thank you, Deku. We could definitely use your help. But you should be careful. The League of Villains isn't to be underestimated." Their conversation continued as they discussed the particulars of the League's operations and the strategies the heroes had been employing. Ino, being both a skilled hero and a perceptive individual, was intrigued by Deku's calm demeanor and his ability to grasp the situation quickly. As the hours passed, the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the city. Deku and Ino continued their discussion, finding a surprising amount of common ground despite their vastly different backgrounds. Ino was struck by Deku's dedication and the sense of responsibility he carried, a quality that resonated with her own values as a hero. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent call from the Hero Association. Another attack was underway, and Ino's team was needed. With a nod of understanding, Deku rose to his feet. "It looks like we have to go. Let's get to it." Ino led the way, guiding Deku through the city's winding streets until they arrived at the scene of the new attack. This time, it was a small but determined faction of villains causing havoc in a residential area. The battle was intense, with civilians caught in the crossfire. Deku and Ino worked in tandem, their movements fluid and efficient. Ino's quirk provided invaluable support as she used her mind control abilities to subdue the villains without causing unnecessary harm. Deku's abilities as the Sage of Six Paths complemented her efforts, his chakra-based attacks clearing the way and ensuring the safety of the civilians. As the battle came to an end and the last of the villains were apprehended, Deku and Ino stood amidst the wreckage, catching their breath. Ino's eyes met Deku's and she offered a grateful smile. "You were amazing out there. I'm really glad you're here." Deku returned the smile, his eyes reflecting a mix of relief and determination. I'm glad I could help. This world has its challenges, but it also has incredible heroes like you. I'll do my best to support you. As the night grew darker, Deku and Ino walked through the quiet streets, their conversation continuing as they discussed their experiences and shared stories from their respective worlds. The bond between them began to form, built on mutual respect and a shared sense of purpose. The stars shone brightly above, casting a gentle light over the city. For Deku, this new world was both a place of uncertainty and opportunity. And for Ino, meeting Deku was the beginning of a journey that would challenge and redefine her understanding of heroism and companionship. Together, they stood at the threshold of a new adventure, ready to face the trials that lay ahead and forge a path toward a future where their worlds could coexist in harmony. The dawn of a new day brought with it the usual hustle and bustle of Musatafu. The city, though still recovering from the recent attacks, buzzed with its characteristic energy. Deku and Ino had spent the night reviewing data on the League of Villains and planning their next moves. Today, they would put their plans into action. The Hero Agency's headquarters, a sleek building brimming with high-tech equipment, was abuzz with activity as heroes and support staff prepared for the day's missions. Ino and Deku arrived early, the latter still adjusting to the nuances of this new world's technology and hero protocols. Ino's colleagues were curious about Deku, but she had briefed them enough to ensure he was treated with respect and caution. Ino's team, known for their efficiency and tactical prowess, was already assembled in the briefing room. They greeted Deku with a mixture of curiosity and respect. Among them was a young hero named Shota Izawa, also known as Eraserhead, whose vigilant eyes took in Deku's every movement. We've got reports of an unusual spike in villain activity in the Eastern District, Izawa began, projecting a map onto the wall. We believe the League of Villains might be gearing up for something big. Deku's eyes narrowed as he studied the map. What's the plan? Ino stepped forward, her expression serious. Our primary goal is to identify any potential threats and neutralize them before they escalate. We'll split into teams to cover more ground. Deku, we'd like you to work with us on the Eastern District. Your abilities could be crucial in containing any large-scale attacks. Deku nodded, his resolve firm. Understood. Let's get to it. The Eastern District was a vibrant area of Musatafu, with bustling markets and crowded streets. The recent increase in villain activity had caused concern among the residents, and the local heroes were on high alert. As Ino and Deku arrived on the scene, they immediately noticed a tense atmosphere. Ino's quirk allowed her to sense the presence of people nearby and their emotional states. She concentrated, searching for any signs of distress or unusual activity. Her eyes narrowed as she detected a strong signal emanating from a seemingly ordinary warehouse on the outskirts of the district. This is the place, Ino said, her voice steady. There's something off about this warehouse. Let's check it out. As they approached the warehouse, Deku's senses were on high alert. His experience as the Sage of Six Paths allowed him to detect subtle disturbances in the environment, and he could sense a growing energy emanating from within. He shared a concerned glance with Ino, who nodded in agreement. Ino and Deku entered the warehouse cautiously. The dim light filtered through cracked windows, casting eerie shadows on the walls. The air was thick with tension, and the sound of shuffling footsteps echoed through the cavernous space. Suddenly, the warehouse was illuminated by a series of bright flashes, revealing a group of villains clad in dark, intimidating attire. Their leader, a tall figure with a mask that obscured most of his face, stepped forward, a sinister smile on his lips. "Welcome, heroes," the leader said, his voice dripping with malice. "I've been expecting you." Deku's eyes narrowed. "Who are you? What's your plan?" The villain's smile widened. "I'm known as Overhaul. We've been waiting for the right moment to strike, and it seems you've walked right into our trap." Before Deku or Ino could react, the villains launched their attack. Overhaul's quirk allowed him to disassemble and reassemble objects, creating a chaotic environment. His minions used various quirks to attack from different angles, forcing Deku and Ino to split their focus. Deku unleashed his Sage of Six Paths abilities, his movements a blur as he countered the villains' attacks with powerful chakra blasts and defensive barriers. Ino used her mind control abilities to manipulate the actions of some of the villains, turning them against their own allies. Despite their efforts, the villains seemed to be one step ahead. Overhaul's quirk was particularly challenging to counter, as he manipulated the environment to his advantage. The warehouse quickly became a battleground of chaos and destruction. Ino fought valiantly beside Deku, her mind extending to control the enemy's movements and protect innocent bystanders. Deku's abilities allowed him to keep the more dangerous threats at bay, but he could sense that they were running out of time. As the battle raged on, Deku realized that they needed a new strategy. He communicated with Ino through brief glances and gestures, coordinating their efforts. "We need to neutralize Overhaul's quirk. Focus on creating openings for me." Ino nodded, her expression resolute. She concentrated her mental powers to disrupt Overhaul's control over the environment, creating a temporary lull in the chaos. Deku seized the opportunity, channeling his chakra to form a massive energy sphere. With a powerful thrust, Deku launched the energy sphere towards Overhaul, who was momentarily caught off guard. The sphere collided with the villain, causing a massive explosion that rocked the warehouse. The dust settled, revealing a battered but still standing Overhaul. His eyes burned with rage as he struggled to regain his footing. "You're persistent, I'll give you that. But this is far from over." Before Overhaul could regroup, the local heroes arrived, bringing reinforcements and securing the area. Ino and Deku, exhausted but determined, watched as the villains were apprehended and the warehouse was brought under control. Ino approached Deku, her face showing a mixture of relief and admiration. "That was incredible. We couldn't have done it without you." Deku smiled, his exhaustion evident but his spirit unbroken. "Thank you. It was a team effort. We've managed to handle this situation, but there's still much work to be done." As the heroes began to debrief and assess the aftermath, Deku and Ino shared a quiet moment. The bond between them had grown stronger through their shared struggle, and their mutual respect was evident. Ino glanced at Deku, her eyes softening. "I'm glad you're here, Deku. We make a good team." Deku nodded, his gaze steady. "I'm glad too, Ino. This world is different from mine, but it feels like we're fighting for the same thing, protecting those who can't protect themselves." The sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the city. As Deku and Ino walked back to the hero agency, their steps were filled with a renewed sense of purpose. The challenges they faced were daunting, but together, they were determined to confront whatever lay ahead. Their journey was just beginning, and the path before them was fraught with danger and uncertainty. But with each step, they grew closer, their partnership becoming a beacon of hope in a world that needed heroes more than ever. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity for Deku and Ino as they continued their efforts to secure Musatafu from escalating villain attacks. The warehouse incident had exposed a troubling aspect of the League of Villains' operations, revealing a new level of organization and ambition. The heroes were on high alert, and every piece of intelligence was crucial. At the hero agency, Deku and Ino sat in a conference room, surrounded by holographic displays and reports. The room was filled with a tense atmosphere as the team reviewed the latest intelligence on the League of Villains. The large screen in the center of the room showed various data points, intercepted communications, and photos of known League members. Izawa, who had been deeply involved in beepizing the threat, looked up from his tablet. "We've received word from our sources that the League of Villains is planning something major. Their recent attacks are part of a larger scheme, but we don't have all the details yet." Ino frowned, her eyes scanning the information on the screen. "Do we have any leads on what their next move might be? We need to get ahead of them before they can execute whatever plan they have." Izawa nodded. "We've intercepted a communication mentioning a meeting between the League's top members. It's set to take place in an abandoned factory on the outskirts of the city. If we can infiltrate that meeting and gather information, we might be able to prevent their next move." Deku leaned forward, his expression serious. "I can help with that. My abilities can allow me to move in and out without being detected. If you provide me with a location and any other details, I can gather the information we need." Ino's gaze was determined. "We'll need to be careful. The League's top members are likely to be well guarded. I'll coordinate with the other heroes to ensure we have backup if things go south." With a plan in place, Deku and Ino prepared for their mission. The abandoned factory was located in a desolate part of the city, far from the usual bustle of Musatafu. As night fell, the city lights flickered against a dark sky, casting an eerie glow over the area. Deku and Ino arrived at the perimeter of the factory, their movements stealthy and deliberate. Ino used her quirk to extend her consciousness and scan for any nearby villains. Her mind brushed against a few scattered presences, confirming that the factory was indeed occupied. "Let's proceed with caution," Ino whispered. "I'll use my quirk to keep track of the League members and provide you with real-time updates." Deku nodded, his focus unwavering. He activated his Sage of Six Paths abilities, cloaking himself in a veil of invisibility that allowed him to move undetected. With a final glance at Ino, he slipped into the factory. Inside, the factory was a maze of rusted machinery and darkened rooms. The air was thick with the smell of decay and abandonment. Deku navigated through the corridors, his senses alert for any signs of danger. His training as the sage allowed him to move with exceptional agility, avoiding traps and obstacles. After some time, he reached a large room where the League of Villains had gathered. The room was dimly lit, illuminated only by the occasional flicker of malfunctioning lights. A long table stood at the center, surrounded by the League's most notorious members. Shigaraki Tamura, twice, Toga Himiko, and the imposing Overhaul. Deku observed from a concealed vantage point, listening intently to their conversation. Shigaraki, the League's leader, spoke with a tone of authority and malice. Our recent attacks have stirred up the heroes, but that's exactly what we wanted, Shigaraki said, his fingers twitching with a menacing energy. The chaos has drawn their attention away from our true objective. Thoga, her eyes gleaming with excitement, leaned forward. And what's the next move? I'm itching for some more fun. Shigaraki smirked, his gaze shifting to Overhaul. Overhaul's been working on something big. He's developed a new weapon that can disrupt the quirks of anyone in its vicinity. We're planning to use it to create a massive disturbance and force the heroes into a vulnerable position. Overhaul, his face hidden behind his mask, nodded. The weapon is almost ready. Once it's activated, it'll give us the leverage we need to launch a full-scale attack on the Hero Society. Deku's heart raced as he absorbed the information. The weapon's potential to disrupt quirks was a serious threat, and if the League succeeded in their plan, it could cripple the hero's ability to protect the city. He knew he needed to relay this information to Ino and the rest of the hero team immediately. He carefully retraced his steps, avoiding detection as he made his way back to the factory's entrance. Once outside, he reappeared from his cloaked state and contacted Ino through their secure communication channel. "Ino, I've got crucial information," Deku said, his voice urgent. "The League of Villains is working on a weapon that can disrupt quirks. They're planning to use it to create chaos and attack the Hero Society. We need to act fast to prevent this." Ino's voice was steady but filled with concern. "Understood, Deku. I'll notify Aizawa and the rest of the team. We need to devise a strategy to neutralize the weapon and prevent the League's attack." As they made their way back to the Hero Agency, the gravity of the situation weighed heavily on both of them. The League's plan was more dangerous than they had anticipated, and the need for a coordinated response was paramount. At the Hero Agency, Aizawa and the other heroes gathered for an emergency briefing. Deku and Ino presented their findings, outlining the threat posed by the League's weapon and the urgency of their mission. Aizawa listened intently, his expression grim. "We need to deploy a multi-pronged approach. We'll have teams working to locate and disable the weapon, while others prepare for a possible large-scale attack. Deku, Ino, you lead the operation to neutralize the weapon." Deku nodded, his resolve unshaken. "We'll do everything we can to stop them." As the heroes mobilized for the impending battle, the city of Musatafu braced itself for what was to come. The League of Villains scheme was a dire threat, but with the combined efforts of Deku, Ino, and the hero team, there was hope that they could prevent the impending disaster. The night sky above Musatafu was dark and foreboding, but the heroes' determination shone brightly. Their path was fraught with danger, but they were united in their mission to protect their world from the looming threat. The atmosphere was electric with tension as the heroes prepared for the upcoming confrontation. With the League of Villains' plan to deploy a quirk-disrupting weapon hanging over them like a dark cloud, the stakes were higher than ever. Deku and Ino, now more focused than ever, began strategizing their approach to neutralize the weapon and thwart the League's scheme. Deku and Ino met in the Hero Agency's war room, where Aizawa and the other heroes were finalizing their preparations. A holographic map displayed the layout of the abandoned warehouse where the weapon was believed to be hidden. The room buzzed with the hum of technology and the murmurs of concerned heroes. Aizawa addressed the group, his voice commanding. "We've pinpointed the location of the weapon to a secondary facility adjacent to the main warehouse. It's heavily guarded, so we'll need a coordinated effort to breach it and secure the artifact." Deku nodded, studying the map. "We'll need to split into two teams. One to create a diversion and draw the League's attention away from the artifact, and another to infiltrate and disable the weapon." Ino, standing beside Deku, added, "I'll take the lead on the team tasked with infiltrating the facility. My quirk can help us get past any guards and avoid detection." Aizawa agreed. "Deku, you lead the diversion team. Use your abilities to create chaos and distract the League. We'll provide support as needed." As the heroes mobilized, Deku and Ino gathered their respective teams and headed out. The city was eerily quiet as they approached the abandoned warehouse, the moon casting long shadows over the dilapidated structures. Deku and his team, composed of several skilled heroes, took up their positions around the perimeter of the main warehouse. They used a combination of stealth and their quirks to set up traps and create disturbances that would draw the League's attention. Ino's team, meanwhile, approached the secondary facility with utmost caution. The building was a stark contrast to the main warehouse, its exterior heavily fortified with metal plating and reinforced security measures. The area was guarded by a group of formidable villains who appeared to be on high alert. "Stay close and follow my lead," Ino instructed her team. "We need to get in without being noticed." Ino concentrated, her quirk extending her mind to probe the facility. She identified the guards' positions and their patrol routes, allowing her to plan their infiltration strategy. With a nod of approval, she signaled her team to proceed. They moved silently, using the cover of darkness to their advantage. Ino's telepathic control enabled her to manipulate the guards, causing them to briefly lose focus and allowing her team to slip past their defenses. They reached the entrance of the secondary facility and found it locked with a complex security system. Ino's quirk allowed her to influence the electronic mechanisms, disabling the locks and granting them access. The team entered the facility and began their search for the weapon. The interior was dimly lit, with metal crates and machinery scattered throughout. The air was filled with a faint hum, suggesting the presence of active machinery. As they advanced, Ino's senses picked up on the artifact's energy signature. She guided her team through a maze of corridors and finally arrived at a heavily secured room. Inside, resting on a pedestal surrounded by protective barriers, was the weapon, a sleek metallic device with intricate engravings. Ino's eyes widened as she examined the weapon. This must be it. We need to disable it before it can be used. The team worked quickly, their movements precise and coordinated. Ino used her quirk to bypass the security systems and access the weapon's control panel. As she began to bypass the device's mechanisms, a sudden alarm blared throughout the facility. Someone's detected our presence. One of Ino's team members shouted. We need to move. Ino's face tightened with determination. We're close. I just need a few more minutes. Outside, Deku and his team had successfully created a massive diversion. Their coordinated efforts had drawn the League of Villains away from the secondary facility, leaving the artifact vulnerable. The chaos they created, including false alarms and staged attacks, had effectively diverted attention. Deku, using his Sage of Six Paths abilities, took to the skies, surveying the area for any signs of trouble. His heightened senses detected the approaching danger as the League began to regroup and prepare for a counterattack. Ino's team, now racing against time, worked to disable the weapon. The artifact's control panel was complex, but Ino's quirk allowed her to bypass the security protocols and access the internal systems. As she worked, she could feel the intense energy irradiating from the device. This thing is powerful, Ino muttered. If we don't shut it down soon, it could be catastrophic. Suddenly, the door to the room burst open and a group of villains stormed in. Among them was Overhaul, his eyes cold and menacing. He was clearly enraged by the intrusion. So, you found our little project, Overhaul sneered. Too bad you won't be leaving with it. Ino's team prepared for a fight, but the villains were relentless. Overhaul's quirk was formidable, and his minions attacked with precision. The room became a battleground as Ino and her team engaged in a desperate struggle to protect the weapon and disable it. Deku, sensing the urgent situation, descended from the sky and joined the fray. His presence was a beacon of hope for Ino's team. With powerful chakra blasts and defensive barriers, he helped to turn the tide of the battle. Focus on the weapon. Deku shouted to Ino. I'll hold them off. Ino nodded, her eyes filled with determination. She continued to work on the control panel, her quirk guiding her actions. The struggle was intense, but she managed to bypass the final security measures and deactivate the weapon. The artifact's energy dissipated and the device powered down with a faint whir. Ino's team, though exhausted and battered, breathed a sigh of relief. The immediate threat had been neutralized. With the weapon disabled, Deku and Ino's team pressed their advantage. The remaining villains were quickly subdued and the secondary facility was secured. Overhaul, defeated and captured, glared at them with a mix of fury and frustration. You may have won this round, Overhaul spat, but the League of Villains will not be stopped so easily. As the hero secured the area and began the process of cleanup, Deku and Ino shared a moment of relief. The immediate danger had been averted, but they knew the battle against the League of Villains was far from over. Ino approached Deku, her eyes filled with gratitude and admiration. Thank you, Deku. We couldn't have done it without your help. Deku smiled, his expression weary but determined. It was a team effort. We faced a significant threat, but we're one step closer to stopping the League's plans. The night sky above Musatafu was clear and serene, a stark contrast to the chaos of the battle. As the heroes prepared to return to their respective duties, the sense of camaraderie and purpose was palpable. The artifact's power had been neutralized, but the League of Villains remained a looming threat. Deku and Ino, now more resolute than ever, were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Their journey was far from over, but with each victory, they drew closer to securing the safety of their world. The aftermath of the battle left the city of Musatafu in a state of cautious relief. The immediate threat of the quirk-disrupting weapon had been neutralized, but the looming presence of the League of Villains continued to cast a shadow over the city. As the heroes regrouped and strategized, Deku and Ino found themselves at the heart of an even more troubling discovery. At the Hero Agency, the atmosphere was filled with a mix of tension and hope. The facility buzzed with activity as heroes debriefed BPI's data and prepared for the next steps. Deku and Ino were called into a secure briefing room where Aizawa and a few other high-ranking heroes awaited them. Deku, Ino, Aizawa began, his voice serious, I need to discuss something crucial with you. During our investigation of the League's weapon, we uncovered some documents and files that hint at a deeper, more sinister aspect of their plans. Aizawa handed them a folder filled with detailed reports and encrypted files. Deku and Ino glanced through the documents, their expressions growing more concerned with each page. One particular file stood out, a historical account of an ancient artifact known as the Eye of Shinigami. According to the documents, the Eye of Shinigami was a powerful relic from an ancient civilization, said to possess the ability to control and manipulate the very essence of quirks. The League of Villains has been searching for this artifact for a long time, Aizawa explained. We believe they were trying to integrate it with their quirk-disrupting weapon to amplify its effects. If they succeed, it could have catastrophic consequences. Ino's eyes widened as she absorbed the information. If the Eye of Shinigami can manipulate quirks on such a scale, we need to find it before the League does. Where do we start? Aizawa nodded. We've traced the last known location of the Eye of Shinigami to an ancient temple hidden deep within the mountains. It's a dangerous and treacherous place, but it's our best lead. We need to act quickly before the League gets their hands on it. Deku and Ino exchanged determined glances. We'll head to the temple and secure the artifact, Deku said. We'll need to prepare for whatever challenges lie ahead. With their mission clear, Deku and Ino set out for the ancient temple. The journey to the temple was arduous, taking them through dense forests and rugged terrain. As they approached the temple, the air grew colder and the environment more foreboding. The ancient temple stood atop a cliff, its weathered stone structure blending seamlessly with the surrounding mountains. The entrance was guarded by intricate carvings and symbols, a testament to its historical significance. Deku and Ino approached the temple with caution, their senses heightened. Ino extended her quirk to probe for any hidden dangers, while Deku activated his sage abilities to sense any potential threats. As they entered the temple, they were greeted by a labyrinth of dark, narrow passages and grand chambers adorned with ancient symbols. The atmosphere was thick with a sense of history and power. The walls seemed to whisper secrets from the past, adding to the gravity of their mission. The further they ventured into the temple, the more they encountered obstacles, traps, puzzles, and riddles designed to protect the artifact. Each challenge required a combination of their skills and ingenuity. Ino's quirk helped them decipher ancient texts and navigate through the puzzles, while Deku's strength and agility allowed them to overcome physical challenges. After hours of navigating the temple's depths, they finally reached the central chamber, a vast circular room, illuminated by a beam of light that filtered through a high, cracked ceiling. At the center of the room stood an ornate pedestal, and atop it rested the Eye of Shinigami. The artifact was a sphere of dark crystal, encased in a complex lattice of metal and glowing with a faint ominous light. Its presence was both awe-inspiring and unsettling. Deku approached the pedestal cautiously, his senses alert. We've found it. Now, we need to secure it and ensure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Ino stepped forward, her quirk scanning the artifact for any hidden traps or mechanisms. Be careful. There might be more defenses protecting the Eye of Shinigami. As they examined the artifact, a sudden tremor shook the temple. The ground rumbled, and the walls began to shift, as if the entire structure was reacting to their presence. It's a trap. Ino shouted. We need to get out of here. The chamber began to collapse, with debris falling from the ceiling and the walls closing in. Deku quickly assessed the situation and activated his sage abilities, creating a protective barrier around them. Hang on. Deku yelled, his voice filled with urgency. We'll make it through. With incredible speed and precision, Deku carried Ino and the artifact through the collapsing temple. They navigated the labyrinthine passages with Deku's enhanced agility and Ino's guidance, narrowly avoiding falling debris and crumbling walls. As they emerged from the temple's entrance, they were met with a breathtaking view of the mountains bathed in the light of dawn. They had successfully escaped the temple, but the artifact's power remained a concern. Ino looked at the Eye of Shinigami with a mixture of awe and apprehension. We've secured the artifact, but we need to ensure it's kept safe. Its power is too great to be left unguarded. Deku nodded, his expression resolute. We'll bring it back to the Hero Agency and ensure it's protected. The League of Villains won't get their hands on it. As they made their way back to the city, the sense of relief was tempered by the gravity of their mission. The Eye of Shinigami represented both a powerful asset and a dangerous threat. The heroes would need to remain vigilant and prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead. The journey had not only tested their skills, but also strengthened their bond. Deku and Ino knew that their partnership was crucial in facing the trials to come. With the artifact in their possession and their resolve unwavering, they were ready to confront the League of Villains and protect their world from the looming threat. The return to the Hero Agency was marked by a palpable sense of accomplishment and unease. Deku and Ino had successfully secured the Eye of Shinigami, but the magnitude of their discovery brought new concerns. The artifact, now safely contained in a specially designed vault, was the subject of intense scrutiny and debate among the hero community. In the high-tech briefing room, Deku, Ino, and Aizawa were joined by several top heroes and experts. The room buzzed with discussions about the artifact's potential and the implications of its power. The Eye of Shinigami was unlike anything the heroes had ever encountered, and its capabilities were still being fully understood. Aizawa addressed the group, his expression grave. "We have to be cautious. The Eye of Shinigami has the potential to disrupt the balance of quirk society. We need to determine the safest way to contain and study it." The room fell silent as experts from various fields began to speak. One expert, a specialist in ancient artifacts, noted, "The Eye of Shinigami is said to be a key to manipulating the essence of quirks. We must ensure it does not fall into the wrong hands, especially given its history." Ino, standing beside Deku, listened intently. Her mind was occupied with the implications of the artifact's power and its potential impact on their mission against the League of Villains. Despite the intense scrutiny, she sensed an underlying tension among the assembled heroes. Aizawa turned to Deku and Ino. "You've done well so far, but there's another aspect to this mission. We need to establish a secure and trusted team to handle the artifact. Your input on who should be part of this team is crucial." Deku and Ino exchanged glances. "We should consider involving heroes with a proven track record of handling sensitive matters," Deku suggested. "And those who have demonstrated unwavering loyalty and discretion." As the discussions continued, a sudden commotion erupted outside the briefing room. The doors burst open, and a familiar figure strode in. Bakugo Katsuki. His presence was both commanding and intimidating. "What's the situation?" Bakugo demanded, his gaze fixed on Deku and Ino. Deku's eyes widened in surprise. "Bakugo. What are you doing here?" Bakugo's expression was a mix of determination and concern. "I heard about the artifact and the League's plans. I'm here to help. If this thing's as dangerous as you say, we need all the help we can get." Aizawa's eyes narrowed. "Bakugo, this isn't just about your personal interest. Handling the Eye of Shinigami requires a level of trust and security that we need to consider carefully." Bakugo's gaze met Aizawa's. "I get it. But you know I can handle myself, and I've got a vested interest in keeping this thing from falling into villain hands. I'm not here to cause trouble." Ino stepped forward, sensing the underlying tension. "Bakugo, if you're serious about helping, you need to prove that you can be trusted with this mission. The artifact security is our top priority." Bakugo's eyes softened slightly as he nodded. "Fine. What do you need me to do?" The meeting concluded with a decision to include Bakugo in the team responsible for the artifact security. The team was composed of heroes known for their reliability and expertise, including Bakugo, Deku, Ino, and a few others chosen by Aizawa. As the team began their preparations, tension continued to simmer. Bakugo's inclusion was met with mixed reactions from some members of the hero community, and trust had to be earned. Ino and Bakugo found themselves working together closely, and their interactions were a mix of mutual respect and guardedness. Ino, accustomed to Bakugo's abrasive demeanor, had to navigate their differences while working towards a common goal. One evening, while reviewing security protocols, Ino and Bakugo found themselves alone in the Hero Agency secure lab. The atmosphere was tense as they beepized the artifact's containment measures. Ino glanced at Bakugo. "You're taking this seriously. I appreciate that. But why the sudden interest in the artifact?" Bakugo's expression softened slightly. "I don't want to see anyone getting hurt because of this thing. And I owe it to myself to make sure it doesn't get used to cause chaos. There's a lot at stake here." Ino nodded. "I understand. We're all in this together, and we need to trust each other if we're going to keep the artifact safe." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of a distant alarm. The hero's attention was immediately drawn to the source of the disturbance. The alarms indicated a breach in the facility's security, and the team mobilized to investigate. Deku, Ino, Bakugo, and the others rushed to the scene. The security footage revealed an unexpected sight. An intruder had managed to bypass the facility's defenses and was heading straight for the vault containing the Eye of Shinigami. "Someone's trying to steal the artifact," Deku shouted. "We need to act fast." The team split up, with Deku and Bakugo heading toward the vault and Ino and the others securing the facility. As they approached the vault, they encountered a group of masked intruders equipped with advanced gadgets. Bakugo charged into the fray, his explosive quirk creating a barrier between the intruders and the vault. Deku followed closely behind, using his enhanced speed and strength to take down the attackers. The battle was intense, with the intruders demonstrating impressive skills and tactics. Despite their efforts, Deku and Bakugo managed to hold their ground and protect the vault. Ino and the others quickly joined the fight, helping to subdue the remaining attackers. Once the intruders were captured and the situation was under control, the team regrouped. The breach had been thwarted, but the attack had exposed vulnerabilities in their security measures. Aizawa arrived at the scene, his expression serious. "This breach was a serious threat. We need to reassess our security protocols and ensure that the artifact is protected from any further attempts." Deku, Ino, and Bakugo, now united by their shared experience, nodded in agreement. The test of trust had proven their ability to work together under pressure. Despite their differences, they had successfully defended the artifact and demonstrated their commitment to the mission. As the team worked to strengthen their defenses, the sense of camaraderie and mutual respect grew. The challenges ahead would require their collective strength and unwavering trust. The Eye of Shinigami remained a powerful and dangerous relic, and the League of Villains would undoubtedly continue their pursuit. But with their newfound unity and determination, Deku, Ino, and their team were prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The Hero Agency's secure facility was now on high alert. The recent attempted theft of the Eye of Shinigami had underscored the gravity of their mission and the lengths to which the League of Villains would go to obtain the artifact. With their security measures bolstered and the team more united than ever, Deku, Ino, and their allies prepared for the next phase of their mission. In the war room, the team gathered to strategize. Maps and data were spread across the table, and the tension in the room was palpable. Aizawa, his expression serious, addressed the team. "We've intercepted communications from the League of Villains. They've been planning something major, an operation that could potentially involve the Eye of Shinigami. We need to be ready for anything." Ino, standing next to Deku and Bakugo, looked at the map. "What's their plan? Do we have any details on their target?" Aizawa nodded. "We believe they're targeting a high-profile event in the city, a charity gala hosted by a prominent figure. The event will have heavy security, but it's also a prime opportunity for the League to strike and cause chaos." Deku's eyes narrowed. "If they're planning something at the gala, we need to be there to protect it and prevent any disruption. The Eye of Shinigami must remain secure." Bakugo, arms crossed, added, "Then we need a solid plan. We can't let them get close to the artifact or cause any harm." The team quickly devised a strategy to secure the gala and ensure that the Eye of Shinigami remained protected. Deku and Ino would be stationed at the gala to monitor the situation, while Bakugo and other heroes would handle crowd control and security. They also arranged for a covert operation to safeguard the artifact at the hero facility. The night of the gala arrived, and the city was abuzz with excitement. The event was a glamorous affair, attended by influential figures and celebrities. Security was tight, but the atmosphere was festive and light-hearted. Deku and Ino, dressed in formal attire, blended seamlessly into the crowd. Their focus remained on scanning for any signs of disturbance or suspicious activity. Deku's enhanced senses and Ino's telepathic abilities made them an effective team in monitoring the event. As the evening progressed, the gala seemed to go off without a hitch. The guests enjoyed the festivities, and the security team kept watch from various points around the venue. But Deku and Ino remained vigilant, their instincts alert to any potential threat. Their attention was drawn to a small commotion near the entrance. A group of masked individuals had managed to breach the perimeter, evading initial security checks. The intruders were swiftly moving towards the main hall where the gala was taking place. Deku signaled to Ino, and they made their way to intercept the intruders. The situation escalated quickly as the intruders revealed themselves to be members of the League of Villains, armed with advanced weaponry and gadgets. "Looks like we have company," Ino said, her voice steady. "Let's take them down." The confrontation was intense. Deku's strength and agility, combined with Ino's telepathic attacks, allowed them to engage the intruders effectively. However, it soon became clear that this was no ordinary attack. The League had a larger plan in motion, and their goal was more than just causing chaos. As the battle raged on, Deku and Ino noticed a figure making its way towards the gala's central stage. It was a tall, enigmatic individual, cloaked in shadows. The figure was headed straight for the artifact, which was on display as part of the event's centerpiece. "Stop them!" Deku shouted to Ino, his heart racing. "They're going for the artifact." Ino nodded, and they pushed through the crowd, engaging the intruders along the way. The mysterious figure reached the stage and began manipulating the artifact with a series of complex gestures. The Eye of Shinigami began to glow with an eerie light, and the air around it crackled with energy. As Deku and Ino closed in, the figure turned to face them, revealing a mask with a sinister grin. "You're too late. The power of the Eye of Shinigami will soon be unleashed, and nothing will stand in our way." The figure's quirk activated, creating a barrier around the artifact and making it difficult for Deku and Ino to approach. The barrier emitted a powerful quirk-disrupting field, neutralizing their abilities and leaving them vulnerable. "Deku, we need to break through that barrier," Ino shouted, frustration evident in her voice. "We can't let them activate the artifact." Deku gritted his teeth and focused on his sage abilities, pushing through the barrier's influence. His determination and training allowed him to withstand the quirk disruption, but the effort was draining. Ino, using her telepathic skills, tried to reach the figure's mind to uncover their intentions and find a way to disable the barrier. As she concentrated, she felt a sudden surge of resistance, a powerful force blocking her telepathic probe. Despite the challenges, Deku and Ino fought with everything they had. The battle was fierce, and the crowd was in panic, with heroes and security personnel trying to regain control of the situation. As the figure continued to manipulate the Eye of Shinigami, a sudden burst of energy erupted from the artifact, causing a shockwave that knocked everyone back. The barrier around the artifact dissipated, leaving it vulnerable. Deku, exhausted but determined, seized the opportunity. With a powerful leap, he reached the stage and grabbed the Eye of Shinigami. The artifact's energy surged through him, but he managed to control it with his sage abilities. Ino, recovering from the shockwave, joined Deku on the stage. Together, they confronted the masked figure, who was now visibly enraged. "You can't stop us," the figure shouted. "The power of the Eye of Shinigami will reshape this world." Deku, using his enhanced strength and speed, engaged the figure in a fierce battle. Ino, with her telepathic abilities, worked to disrupt the figure's focus and prevent them from executing their plan. The fight was intense, but Deku and Ino's teamwork and resolve proved to be a decisive advantage. As the figure faltered, Deku delivered a final, decisive blow, incapacitating them and ensuring that the artifact was safe. But the immediate threat neutralized, the remaining League members were apprehended by the security team. The gala was secured, and the artifact was safely transported back to the hero facility. As the dust settled, Deku and Ino stood together, catching their breath. The night had been a test of their skills and trust, and they had emerged victorious. Ino turned to Deku, her expression reflecting both relief and exhaustion. "We did it. The artifact is safe, and we stopped the League's plans." Deku nodded, his eyes filled with determination. "We've faced a significant challenge, but we're one step closer to protecting the world from the threats that lie ahead." As the heroes regrouped and the aftermath of the gala was addressed, Deku and Ino knew that their journey was far from over. The League of Villains would continue to pursue the Eye of Shinigami, and the challenges they faced would only grow more formidable. But with their unwavering resolve and the strength of their bond, they were ready to confront whatever lay ahead. The heart of the storm had tested their mettle, and they had proven themselves as heroes in the face of adversity. The aftermath of the gala attack had left the city in shock. News reports were filled with the details of the attempted theft, and the hero community was abuzz with discussions about the Eye of Shinigami and its implications. The team at the Hero Agency was working tirelessly to strengthen security measures and address the concerns raised by the attack. In the Hero Agency's war room, Deku, Ino, and Aizawa were engaged in a strategic meeting. The mood was somber, and the weight of their recent experiences hung heavily in the air. "We've managed to secure the artifact and neutralize the immediate threat," Aizawa said, his voice grave. "But the League of Villains is persistent. We've intercepted intelligence suggesting that they are planning something even more dangerous." Ino, looking concerned, asked, "What do they have in mind? Do we know their next move?" Aizawa nodded. "Our sources indicate that the League plans to attack the hero facility itself, targeting the Eye of Shinigami. They're aware of its power and are determined to acquire it." Deku's expression hardened. "We can't let that happen. If they get their hands on the artifact, the consequences could be catastrophic." The team quickly mobilized, with plans put in place to defend the hero facility. The security was tightened, and additional heroes were assigned to protect the perimeter. Deku, Ino, and Bakugo took up key positions within the facility, ready to respond to any threat. As night fell, the facility was on high alert. Deku and Ino were stationed near the vault, their senses sharp and their minds focused. The tension was palpable, and the weight of their responsibility was evident in their every action. Suddenly, an alarm blared, signaling a breach in the facility's defenses. Deku and Ino sprang into action, heading towards the source of the disturbance. They encountered a group of League of Villains members attempting to bypass the facility's security. Bakugo joined them, his explosive quirk creating a barrier between the intruders and the vault. The battle was fierce, with both sides exchanging blows and utilizing their quirks to their fullest. In the chaos, a powerful figure emerged from the shadows, a new villain, who exuded an aura of menace and authority. The villain was dressed in dark ornate armor, and their presence seemed to command respect from the League members. "This is it," the villain declared, their voice echoing with dark energy. "Tonight, the Eye of Shinigami will be ours, and the world will be reshaped according to our will." Deku's eyes narrowed in determination. "We won't let you take it. Not now, not ever." The villain's power was overwhelming, and the battle intensified. Deku, Ino, and Bakugo fought valiantly, but the new villain proved to be a formidable adversary. The villain's quirk was unlike anything they had encountered, able to manipulate shadows and create powerful, debilitating effects. Despite their efforts, the villain managed to bypass Deku and Ino's defenses, reaching the vault and attempting to access the Eye of Shinigami. The artifact glowed with a menacing light as the villain's dark energy sought to corrupt its power. In a desperate bid to protect the artifact, Deku and Ino launched a coordinated assault on the villain. Their attacks were precise and powerful, but the villain's defenses were impenetrable. Ino, sensing the dire situation, made a difficult decision. Deku, we need to use the eye's power to counteract the villain's influence. But doing so could be dangerous. Deku's eyes met Ino's, filled with understanding. If it's the only way to protect the artifact and stop them, then we have to do it. Ino began to focus her telepathic abilities on the Eye of Shinigami, attempting to harness its power to counter the villain's influence. The artifact's energy surged, and Ino's quirk was amplified, creating a powerful shield around the vault. The villain, sensing the shift in power, intensified their attack. The clash of energies created a dramatic and destructive spectacle, shaking the facility to its core. As the battle reached its climax, the villain launched a final devastating attack aimed at the vault. Deku and Bakugo fought to intercept the blow, but the force was overwhelming. Ino, straining against the artifact's energy, realized that the only way to fully counteract the villain's attack was to make a profound sacrifice. The energy required to maintain the shield was draining her life force, and she knew that continuing would come at a great personal cost. With a resolute expression, Ino turned to Deku. Deku, I can hold the shield, but it's taking everything I have. If I push any further, it will. Deku's eyes widened in horror. Ino, there has to be another way. We can't lose you. Ino shook her head, her determination unwavering. This is the only way. I won't let the villain destroy everything we've worked for. You have to protect the artifact and stop them. Deku's heart ached as he watched Ino channel the full power of the Eye of Shinigami. Her sacrifice was immense, and the energy she wielded was both awe-inspiring and devastating. But the final burst of power, Ino's shield repelled the villain's attack, and the dark energy was neutralized. The villain, caught off guard, was overwhelmed by the combined force of Deku, Bakugo, and Ino's sacrifice. The facility's defenses were secured, and the threat was neutralized. The villain was captured and taken into custody, but the victory came at a great cost. Ino collapsed, her strength depleted from the intense battle. Deku rushed to her side, his heart heavy with worry. Ino. Stay with me. Ino looked up at Deku, her eyes filled with a mix of pain and determination. Deku, I did what I had to do. The artifact is safe and you'll continue to protect it. Promise me you'll. Deku's voice broke as he held Ino's hand. I promise, Ino. We'll keep the artifact safe. You've done more than anyone could ask. As the facility was secured and the aftermath of the battle was addressed, Deku and the team mourned the loss of their brave comrade. Ino's sacrifice had saved countless lives and protected the Eye of Shinigami from falling into villain hands. The hero community honored Ino's bravery, and her legacy became a symbol of courage and selflessness. Deku, now more determined than ever, vowed to continue the fight against the forces of darkness and uphold the values that Ino had so fiercely defended. The battle was won, but the journey was far from over. The challenges ahead would test their resolve, but with the memory of Ino's sacrifice guiding them, Deku and his allies faced the future with renewed strength and unwavering determination. The days following Ino's ultimate sacrifice were somber. The hero community held a memorial for her, and her bravery was celebrated as a beacon of hope and courage. The hero agency, now more resolute than ever, continued to safeguard the Eye of Shinigami, but a shadow lingered over their hearts. Deku and his team resumed their duties with a renewed sense of purpose. The threat of the League of Villains had been mitigated, but the damage they had wrought left deep scars. The world was on edge, and the looming presence of darkness seemed more palpable than ever. Deku, determined to honor Ino's memory, threw himself into his training and hero work. He was driven by a desire to protect not only the Eye of Shinigami, but also the world that Ino had fought so valiantly to defend. One evening, as Deku was training alone in the hero facility's gym, he received a call from Izawa. The urgency in Izawa's voice was unmistakable. Deku, we have a situation. The League of Villains has initiated a large-scale operation. They're attempting to harness the power of the Eye of Shinigami to alter reality itself. Deku's heart skipped a beat. What do you mean by altering reality? Izawa's voice was grim. They're using the artifact's power to rewrite the world according to their desires. We've detected massive fluctuations in reality energy around a secluded location, an old, abandoned facility on the outskirts of the city. We believe that's where they're performing the ritual. Deku's resolve hardened. We need to stop them before they can complete the ritual. I'll gather the team and head there immediately. The hero agency quickly mobilized, preparing for what would likely be their most critical battle yet. Deku, Bakugo, and a team of top heroes made their way to the abandoned facility. As they approached, the air around the site crackled with dark energy and an ominous glow emanated from within. Inside the facility, the League of Villains had set up an elaborate ritual site. The Eye of Shinigami was at the center of a massive glowing circle, surrounded by dark sigils and runes. The villain who had led the previous attack, now known as Kurazai, stood at the center, directing the ritual with a sense of unshakable authority. Soon, Kurazai intoned, the world will be remade in our image. All will bow before our new order. Deku and the team burst into the facility, immediately engaging the League members who were guarding the ritual site. The battle was fierce, with explosions and quirk clashes lighting up the facility. Kurazai, seeing the heroes approach, sneered. "You're too late. The ritual is already in progress. Once the Eye of Shinigami's power is fully unleashed, the world will be reshaped and there will be no place for heroes or resistance." Deku, fighting his way through the League's defenses, pushed forward with a singular focus. "We won't let you succeed, Kurazai. The world you're trying to create isn't worth destroying the one we have." As Deku approached the ritual site, he felt the overwhelming power of the Eye of Shinigami. The artifact's energy was pulsing, and reality itself seemed to waver around it. Kurazai's quirk was amplifying the artifact's power, creating a dangerous distortion in the fabric of reality. Bakugo and the other heroes engaged Kurazai's minions, creating a path for Deku to reach the eye. Despite the chaotic battle, Deku's determination never wavered. He knew that stopping the ritual was the only way to save their world. Kurazai, sensing the threat, turned his attention to Deku. "You're persistent, but your efforts are futile. The power of the Eye of Shinigami is beyond anything you can comprehend." Deku, using his enhanced sage abilities, tried to stabilize the distortions in reality. "I don't care how powerful it is. We're stopping you, no matter what." The battle between Deku and Kurazai was intense. Kurazai wielded dark energy with precision, creating powerful blasts and barriers to obstruct Deku's path. Deku countered with his own strength, using the power of the sage to resist the reality distortions and protect the artifact. Ino's memory inspired Deku, and he drew strength from the sacrifices she had made. He knew that he couldn't afford to falter. The fate of the world depended on his ability to overcome Kurazai and prevent the ritual from reaching completion. As the struggle continued, Kurazai grew more desperate. The power of the Eye of Shinigami was reaching its peak, and the distortions in reality became more severe. The facility trembled, and the air was filled with a swirling vortex of dark energy. In a final, decisive move, Deku channeled all his strength and determination into one powerful attack. He unleashed a concentrated burst of energy, aimed directly at Kurazai and the ritual site. The impact of Deku's attack was immense. The Eye of Shinigami's energy was disrupted, and the ritual's power was violently repelled. The distortions in reality began to stabilize, and the facility's structure started to collapse under the strain. Kurazai, caught off guard by the sudden shift in power, was overwhelmed. The dark energy that had been building up dissipated, and the ritual's effects were nullified. The villain was defeated and taken into custody, and the threat of reality alteration was averted. As the facility crumbled, Deku and his team made their escape. The battle had been won, but the consequences of their struggle were evident. The world had been on the brink of transformation, and their actions had saved it from a dire fate. Back at the Hero Agency, Deku and his team gathered to assess the aftermath. The threat of the League of Villains had been neutralized, but the experience had left its mark. The world had been tested, and the heroes had proven their resilience. Deku, reflecting on the battle, felt a deep sense of resolve. "We've faced unimaginable challenges and risks, but we've come through stronger. We'll continue to protect our world and uphold the values that Ino fought for." The journey had been arduous, and the sacrifices had been profound. But with the world saved from the brink of darkness, Deku and his allies stood ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The legacy of their struggle would serve as a reminder of their courage and determination in the face of adversity. The aftermath of the battle at the abandoned facility left a sense of uneasy calm across the city. The world was safe, but the scars of the conflict remained. The once formidable presence of the League of Villains was now reduced to scattered remnants, and the Eye of Shinigami was securely guarded. Yet, the hero community knew that true peace required more than just winning battles, it required healing and redemption. Deku, Bakugo, and their team returned to the Hero Agency, their bodies and spirits exhausted from the intense confrontation. The Hero facility, though still standing, had suffered damage during the battle. As they began to assess the repairs needed, the weight of their recent experiences hung heavily over them. In the aftermath, Deku found himself in a reflective state. He had faced numerous challenges, but the loss of Ino and the near alteration of reality weighed heavily on him. He knew that while the world had been saved, there were still personal and collective wounds that needed healing. One afternoon, Deku visited the memorial erected in honor of Ino. It was a serene, peaceful place, adorned with flowers and heartfelt messages from friends, family, and fellow heroes. As he stood before the memorial, he felt a deep sense of loss and a renewed sense of responsibility. "Ino," Deku said softly, "we've fought so hard to protect everything you stood for. I promise we'll continue to uphold your legacy. We'll make sure that your sacrifice was not in vain." As he was lost in thought, a figure approached the familiar face of Aizawa. The mentor's presence was reassuring, and he placed a hand on Deku's shoulder. "You've done well, Midoriya," Aizawa said. "But remember, true heroism isn't just about fighting villains. It's about making a positive difference in the world and helping others heal from the pain." Deku nodded, absorbing the wisdom in Aizawa's words. "I understand. I want to do more than just be a hero who fights. I want to make a lasting impact. The following days were filled with efforts to rebuild and recover. The Hero Agency worked tirelessly to repair the facility and enhance security measures. Meanwhile, Deku and his team began focusing on community outreach programs, aiming to support those affected by the recent events and promote a sense of unity and resilience. One of the key initiatives was a series of public forums and support groups for those who had been impacted by the League of Villains' actions. Deku, Bakugo, and other heroes participated in these forums, offering their support and listening to the concerns of the citizens. During one of these forums, Deku addressed a group of concerned citizens. "We understand the fear and uncertainty you've experienced. We're here to ensure your safety and work towards a future where such threats are minimized. We're committed to rebuilding and supporting our community." As Deku spoke, he saw the hope and gratitude in the eyes of the people. It was clear that their efforts were making a difference. But there was still a pressing issue that needed to be addressed: reforming the remnants of the League of Villains. The captured members of the League had been placed in secure containment, but their influence still lingered. The Hero Agency, alongside government officials, decided to initiate a rehabilitation program for those who were willing to change their ways. This program aimed to provide counseling, education, and opportunities for redemption. Deku visited the containment facility to meet with some of the former villains. Among them was a young woman named Nira, who had once been a key player in the League, but had shown signs of remorse. "Nira," Deku said as he approached, "I know that you've made mistakes, but there's a chance for redemption. We're offering support for those who want to change. Are you willing to take that path?" Nira looked up, her expression a mix of uncertainty and hope. "I want to change. I never realized the full impact of my actions until now. I want to make amends." Deku nodded, offering a reassuring smile. "Then we'll help you. It's not going to be easy, but it's the first step towards making things right." The rehabilitation program began to take shape, and its early success stories began to inspire others. The path to redemption was challenging, but it was proving to be a powerful tool for healing and rebuilding. As the weeks went by, the city slowly returned to a sense of normalcy. The hero community, while still grieving the loss of Ino, found strength in their unity and determination to protect and serve. Deku continued his work, driven by a commitment to honor Ino's legacy and make a positive difference. One evening, as Deku looked out over the city from a rooftop, he felt a sense of fulfillment. The battles had been fierce, and the sacrifices had been great, but the world was healing. The legacy of Ino's courage had inspired change and hope. Deku closed his eyes, reflecting on the journey. "We've come a long way, but there's still work to be done. We'll keep moving forward, learning from the past, and striving for a better future." In the distance, the city lights twinkled like stars, a symbol of resilience and hope. The path to redemption was ongoing, but with each step, Deku and his allies were building a brighter future for all. The peace that had settled over the city following the League of Villains' defeat was fragile. Despite the ongoing efforts to heal and rebuild, a lingering threat remained. The remnants of the League, though significantly weakened, still harbored dark ambitions. Recent intelligence suggested that a final, desperate plot was in the works, a plot that could unleash chaos and undo everything they had fought for. Deku, Bakugo, and the other heroes were summoned to an emergency briefing at the Hero Agency. The atmosphere was tense as they gathered in the command center, where Aizawa and other top officials were preparing to present the latest information. "The League of Villains," Aizawa began, "has regrouped and is making a last-ditch effort to seize control of an experimental weapon, an ancient artifact, with destructive capabilities far beyond anything we've encountered. If they succeed, they could cause widespread devastation." Deku's eyes narrowed. "Where is the artifact located?" "The weapon is being held at a high-security facility on the outskirts of the city," Aizawa replied. "We believe the League plans to launch an assault on the facility and take control of the weapon. We need to stop them before it's too late." Bakugo clenched his fists, his expression resolute. "Let's move. We can't let them get their hands on that weapon." The heroes quickly mobilized, deploying to the facility to thwart the League's plans. As they approached, the facility loomed in the distance, a heavily fortified complex, surrounded by high walls and advanced security systems. Deku, Bakugo, and their team, including a few heroes from the rehabilitation program, prepared for the assault. They had a clear objective: neutralize the League's forces and secure the artifact before it could be activated. As they breached the facility's perimeter, the team encountered fierce resistance from the League's remaining operatives. The battle was intense, with quirk abilities clashing in a chaotic display of power. Deku, utilizing his sage abilities, moved with a blend of speed and precision, countering attacks and clearing a path for his allies. Inside the facility, the League's leader, Kurazai, was preparing to activate the weapon. His expression was one of fierce determination as he stood before the artifact, which pulsed with dark energy. "You're too late," Kurazai sneered as he noticed Deku and his team approaching. "This weapon will grant us the power to reshape the world. Your resistance is futile. Deku's gaze was steady, his resolve unshaken. We've come too far to let you succeed. We're stopping you here and now. The final battle erupted with renewed intensity. Deku and Kurazai clashed in a fierce duel, their powers meeting in a spectacular display of energy. Kurazai wielded the artifact's power with devastating effect, creating powerful energy blasts and distortions in the environment. Deku, drawing upon his sage abilities, fought with everything he had. His movements were precise and powerful, his attacks fueled by the memory of Ino's sacrifice and the responsibility he felt as the Sage of Six Paths. Bakugo and the other heroes engaged Kurazai's minions, preventing them from interfering with Deku's fight. The battle raged on, with each side pushing their limits in a desperate struggle. Kurazai, realizing that his plans were faltering, grew increasingly desperate. You can't stop me. The weapon is almost fully charged. The world will be remade, and your efforts will be in vain. Deku, despite the overwhelming power of the artifact, pressed forward with unwavering determination. He knew that the only way to defeat Kurazai and secure the facility was to disrupt the activation process and neutralize the artifact's power. In a daring move, Deku channeled all his remaining energy into a concentrated attack aimed directly at the artifact. The force of his attack collided with the weapon's dark energy, creating a massive explosion that shook the facility. The explosion caused a chain reaction, destabilizing the artifact and disrupting its activation process. Kurazai, caught in the backlash of the explosion, was thrown back, his control over the artifact slipping. As the dust settled, Deku emerged from the smoke, his body bruised and battered but determined. He approached the damaged artifact, which now lay inert and powerless. Kurazai, struggling to regain his footing, glared at Deku with a mixture of anger and disbelief. You've ruined everything. The world could have been ours. Deku, standing over the defeated villain, spoke with a tone of resolute finality. The world is not for the taking. It's for protecting and improving. We fight for a future where everyone can live in peace. With Kurazai defeated and the artifact neutralized, the heroes began securing the facility and ensuring that no further threats remained. The final battle had been won, but the cost had been significant. The city, though safe, had endured a harrowing ordeal. As the sun rose over the city, Deku and his team stood together, reflecting on the events that had transpired. They had faced immense challenges, but their courage and determination had prevailed. Deku looked out over the city, a sense of resolve in his heart. We've faced the darkness and come out stronger. Our journey isn't over, but we've shown that we can overcome even the greatest threats. The heroes, united in their purpose, prepared to continue their work. The final battle had tested their limits, but it had also reaffirmed their commitment to protect and serve. With the threat of the League of Villains finally behind them, they looked forward to a future where their world could begin to heal and thrive once more. The aftermath of the final battle had left the city in a state of cautious optimism. The remnants of the League of Villains had been subdued, the experimental weapon neutralized, and the world had been spared from imminent disaster. The heroes, though weary, had triumphed over the darkness that had threatened their world. In the days following the battle, the city began to rebuild. The Hero Agency worked tirelessly to restore the damaged facilities, and the community came together to support one another. The scars of conflict were still visible, but there was a renewed sense of hope and determination among the people. Deku and his team, having played a crucial role in the recent events, were recognized as symbols of resilience and heroism. Despite their personal losses and the sacrifices they had made, they remained dedicated to their mission of protecting and serving. One evening, as the sun set over the city, Deku visited the memorial for Ino once more. It was a tranquil, reflective space, and Deku found solace in the quiet moment. He thought about the journey they had undertaken and the lessons they had learned. Ino, Deku spoke softly, we've faced so much, and we've come through stronger. Your sacrifice inspired us all, and we'll continue to honor your memory by making the world a better place. As Deku left the memorial, he was joined by Bakugo and several other members of the hero team. They had gathered to discuss their next steps and the future of their hero work. Bakugo, looking more relaxed than usual, clapped Deku on the back. We made it through, didn't we? Now it's time to focus on moving forward and making sure we're ready for whatever comes next. Deku nodded, his expression resolute. Yes, it's time to look ahead. We've learned a lot from our experiences, and we need to use that knowledge to continue improving and protecting the world. Their discussion turned to plans for the future. The Hero Agency had decided to enhance its focus on community outreach and support programs, aiming to address the needs of those affected by the recent conflicts and promote a culture of unity and resilience. In addition to their hero duties, Deku and his team also worked on mentoring the next generation of heroes. They visited schools and training centers, sharing their experiences and encouraging young heroes to strive for excellence and integrity. One day, as Deku was visiting a local hero academy, he was approached by a group of aspiring heroes. Among them was a young girl with a determined look in her eyes. Deku, she said with admiration, I want to be a hero like you. How can I make a difference? Deku smiled warmly, recognizing the same spirit that had driven him from the start. Believe in yourself, work hard, and always strive to do what's right. Remember that being a hero isn't just about having powers, it's about making a positive impact and standing up for others. The young girl nodded enthusiastically, inspired by Deku's words. As he left the academy, Deku felt a renewed sense of purpose. The future of heroism was in capable hands, and he was determined to support and guide the next generation. As the months passed, the city continued to recover and grow. The hero agency's efforts to rebuild and support the community were met with widespread appreciation, and the spirit of collaboration and resilience became a defining feature of the city. Deku and his team, having faced the darkest challenges and emerged victorious, found themselves looking towards a hopeful future. The bonds they had formed, the lessons they had learned, and the legacy of their struggles shaped their path forward. One evening, as Deku and Bakugo stood on a rooftop overlooking the city, they shared a moment of reflection. We've come a long way, Bakugo said, his voice carrying a note of satisfaction. It's been tough, but we've made a difference. Deku nodded, his gaze steady. Yes, and we'll continue to make a difference. Our journey isn't over, but we're ready for whatever comes next. The city below shimmered with the promise of a new beginning. The heroes, united in their purpose, were prepared to face the future with courage and determination. They had overcome great trials, and their commitment to protecting and serving would guide them as they continued their work. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Deku and his allies stood together, ready to embrace the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead. The world was a place of hope and possibility, and they were determined to shape it for the better. With a sense of optimism and resolve, Deku looked towards the horizon. The journey of heroism was ongoing, and the path forward was filled with promise. The future was bright, and together, they would forge a new beginning. So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video guys. Let me know in the comments section how was the story, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video, bye bye.